Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 93 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 5. You guys did miss the previous episode, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But headed into this episode, then we do have that rear minor downforce on the car. That won't be enough though, because Renault, seemingly, I think that's an ultimate upgrade actually, they've brought that update to the Austrian Grand Prix. So Renault, like last season, are improving quite a decent amount in the midway part of the season, and this time last year this was the point where they pretty much started to just ramp up development and ran away with the development pretty much to the end of the season. So a little bit of a worrying period because they kept becoming so strong, and really at this point now we're getting so close to the maximum of the R&D trees. I don't feel like there's much to go, and yet Renault are still plowing on with these huge leaps and bounds, whereas just for us, you can see compared to them, our improvement's quite tiny, with McLaren plateauing and Red Bull still plateauing from about 5 episodes ago, so they're definitely not going to get any better. But we move into this with high spirits because Austria has always been a great circuit for me on this game, and also, strangely enough, every single time I come to Austria, it's me and my teammate that are both very strong around here, so I don't know really what it is, but something's clicking around Austria for whatever team I'm in, basically, and so hopefully this can be a good one. Although I say that, in Q1, the car definitely felt a little bit off from where I wanted it to. Last season's car felt better around here than this one did for some reason, even though I come here with probably way more downforce, less drag, and also a lightweight chassis and more engine power, and the car felt worse. So that was a little bit odd, but we still make it in through to Q2, so that's, the least of our concerns. If it feels a little bit off, it's fine if the lap time actually comes out still, and so that's fine at the end of the day. So we're in Q2 now. You can see Brendan Hartley actually at the top of the session at this early stage of Q2, and I won't be surprised if Toro Rosso rock up and do really well, and actually maybe even outperform the sister bigger team Red Bull Racing here, because Toro Rosso have been so good in acceleration, and Austria is very much a power track, and there's so many tough acceleration zones here with the elevation change as well, so I think Toro Rosso's could go well. At the moment though, we do go provisional fastest, but then by the end of the session I go from P1 all the way down to P11. The track evolved really quickly in Q2 then, and lots of people were saying really good times, and so I'm outside the top 10 shootout for now. We need to improve desperately. You can see I'm hardly improving that much. It's only a couple of tenths, but I think a few people will be behind me will be improving still. Ericsson, the Saubers are looking pretty good. Leclerc's right up there, so you've got Hartley just ahead of me. I believe Gasly at the moment is behind me, so there's plenty of people in the drop zone behind me that could overtake me, so I need to improve by way more than I am right now. You can see scrubbing off some speed there in the left-hander, getting some understeer for some reason in the car after initially feeling pretty good on that first run, and across the line, even though we improved by quite a fair bit, I would say, relative usually in Formula 1 terms, that was only good enough to get us P11 and remain in P11 basically. We improved, we were up in probably the top 10, but then literally as people crossed the line, they bumped me back down to P11, and so I am out of qualifying then in Q2. Vettel's through, but you can see, look how close it was between me and Vettel, and that's the difference between P8 and P11, so really annoying day, honestly, because after 2 wins in a row, Canada and France, I thought we were having some really good momentum here, and I said, Austria is usually a good circuit for me. Yes, the car was feeling a little bit odd, but still I thought the speed was in the car, but yeah, Vettel's lower down in the top 10. You can see what I mean by the Sauber of Leclerc doing really well right up there. 2 Renaults, though, dominating with a 1-2 in that session, so we'll see how the top 10 shootout goes. But, of course, now, unfortunately, the top 10 shootout will have that glitch where I am not in the session, so it will be ran with the Season 1 performances. So we might see a bit of a shuffled up top 10, unfortunately, and even more unfortunately for me, to not overuse that word too much, but for me, Vettel now might actually boost up in performance, because obviously the Ferrari in Season 1 was the outright fastest car, so I might get a bit of a pummeling in the reputation because of this bad qualifying now, double time. Let's take the speed we had in the last 2 races and try and channel that energy into Sunday here at the Red Bull Ring and try and cause an upset here from P11. So let's go to the grid.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg, and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship, except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Stoffel van Dorn. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Kimi Raikkonen's perfect lap yesterday sees him start from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hülkenberg, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Alonso, Gasly, the engineer and Brendan Hartley. Ricciardo, they've taken a grid penalty, Ericsson, Valtteri Bottas and Magnussen, Grosjean, Perez, Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll, Sirotkin and Stoffel van Dorn completes the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So what did I say? Q3 was going to be glitched, and so it just had to happen. Sebastian Vettel is on pole position. We know Vettel, when he is one with the car, he can do things like that. But, Season 5 here, that definitely wasn't Season 5 performance, because Vettel hardly made it into Q3. So that was a little bit annoying. So reputation probably did take a hit a fair bit again to Ferrari, despite winning 2 races in a row. So we have to try and do some good work here and try and bring that back this episode here. And so strategy-wise, there's a 2-stop today, 2 sets of Ultras and 1 set of Supers. Now, I think I'll probably swap the 2 stints round and go to Super Softs in the middle and go to the Ultra right at the end of the race on lower fuel. But we're going to start on the Ultras, try and get a good jump away and try and make the places up initially right at the start of this Grand Prix and don't waste time in dawdling here. So here we go then. So 5 red lights. So the Austrian Grand Prix here at the Red Bull Ring. My teammate on pole position, but can we cause an upset from P11 today? 4 lights are out and we're on the way for 36 laps. It's initial good getaway, but into turn 1 it's going to be very tight. We're going to hang back on purpose here, try and make a move on the outside of Pierre Gasly, maybe find some space here that opens up, ultimately got on the curbing and so we have to tuck in behind the Frenchman. Vettel gets away well from pole position ahead of Lewis Hamilton then, so they are 1 and 2, familiar rivals 1 and 2, so you can definitely tell the Season 1 performances there right at the beginning, but this should shuffle out and eventually I would imagine the Toro Rossos, Renaults and McLarens will move forward ahead of that Merc and the Red Bulls maybe as we make our way past Gasly down the inside, but look at this straight line speed that Toro Rosso has there, so annoying in a way, but so great to see for this smaller midfield team usually to be right up here. And so Gasly, for old time's sake, gives me a good fight. We're able to squeeze them out and remain there up in P8. Then we'll try and chase after that fight ahead of us of the McLaren and also the Renault. It's Carlos Sainz and Alonso. So the 2 Spaniards, once again, I feel like they've been fighting all season long and also Season 4. So many times the 2 countrymen come together. And so Sainz, the one the worse off there. He's down to P7. Alonso makes his way up into P6. At the moment ahead, it looks like Hülkenberg's got ahead of Hamilton, I would say, on the minimap there. So I think it's Vettel from Hülkenberg in second place. Hamilton in the very slow Mercedes, obviously, eventually will probably, you would say, fall back, as we go on through this Grand Prix. But there you go. The 2 Germans are 1 and 2 at the Austrian Grand Prix. Third place at this early stage of the Grand Prix still is Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes car, being chased after by Max Verstappen and also Leclerc, putting on some great pressure onto Verstappen there. So I don't know what's happened here. I didn't really realise the Sauber had that much of an upgrade here going to Austria, but Leclerc's AI at least is really doing a stonking performance there to be in the top 5. Just about behind him though is Fernando Alonso. So we've got a very realistic fight there. Alonso behind Leclerc again for a battle maybe, but now you can see Alonso actually making the move on Verstappen. So Leclerc has already dispatched a Verstappen here onto lap number 4 we go on to, and so Verstappen is side by side with Alonso. Sainz will come through, and is he going to make it 3 wide? Yes, he will. Oh my word, what a fight that is there. And Verstappen on the outside, Sainz gets squeezed off, and we make a double pass, and we're ahead up into P6, past Verstappen and Sainz in 1 apex there. Beautiful stuff. And now the slipstream DRS, and we've got the speed on Alonso. The DRS upgrades coming in clutch here today. Down the inside, big dive bomb there, went way too deep though, and so Alonso switchbacks on us here. We have to try and re-overtake him. He's got DRS, I do not, because I didn't get the second activation there for some reason, and so Alonso remains up in P6. But what a stunning shot that was, 3 wide. I really didn't think Sainz was going to go for it because it was so late that Sainz pulled out to the inside there, but amazing stuff. But both of them come off worse, and Alonso, I've unsurprisingly, in a way, is the one that kind of survives that. He's always a survivor when it comes to these very close nip-in-tuck races. But meanwhile, for first place now, Hülkenberg tried to make a move on Vettel, but my teammate does really well to fend off for first place, so the two Germans scrap away. And then look at this, behind them, Charles Leclerc, third place, ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Stunning job. We've got to remember, the Sauber car is not that great still in this Season 5. It might be in your career modes, personally, or other YouTubers' career modes, but in my career mode, Sauber have never really been that high up in the performance chart there. So Leclerc's AI, to do that and be in third place, absolutely stunning work there. But now, we watch on lap 6, Alonso trying to attack Hamilton there. And now, can I catch maybe Hamilton and Alonso maybe napping as we go a little bit deep on the left-hand side. And we're trying to straighten the car a little bit faster here. And a little bit of a shimmy and shake on the rear end as the traction's quite difficult on that corner every single time on higher fuel. But here goes now. Can we make a move to the inside of Hamilton as Alonso's passed him already? It's going to be very close margins there. Lock up on the front right, but we just about make it. My car seemed to understeer forever and was going towards Hamilton's car, but we just about made it without any contact there. And now look at that behind me on the top left. Gasly trying to make a move there. So Hamilton really going down the order, and how the mighty fall. Mercedes just been going backwards and backwards since Season 1. But now look at this, the top fight. Hülkenberg v Vettel in that really good Works Renault car, and Hülkenberg round the outside, the best car on the grid. So eventually you would have thought this would happen, and Hülkenberg is up into first place. Vettel though, GG's to him. He's put up a really great fight in these opening 6-7 laps there to try and control this race, but alas, eventually that Renault is a bit too quick there, and so I just worry about where Vettel will actually end up now, because Leclerc's looking pretty damn fast, and the McLaren is as well. So I'm hoping for my sake I can catch Vettel eventually in this Grand Prix, but let's see, for the sake of our team, hopefully both of us can be in the podium, and I can just simply join Vettel up there once we get past Alonso and Leclerc. Eventually we'll do that on Alonso, moving to the left hand side, and you can really see now this episode clearly actually how powerful the DRS upgrade has been for us. I feel like our car just turns into a rocket ship when we have the DRS open, and that's all thanks to the major upgrades we've done on that part of the car. You know, in pure slipstream without DRS, our car's still quite draggy actually, I think, but in DRS it becomes a different beast. So I'm really happy we made these upgrades, because it just means it's an overtaking machine basically. And so now as we move on towards lap 11, we'll try and do the same and similar easy move on Leclerc, but this time into turn 1 actually. We have so much speed through the last corner, we're going to spark a little bit there actually on the exit curb there. A few sparks at the front of our car for some reason. I think we had some contact quite awkwardly in the side pod area, but here we go now. Again, same place as Alonso. This time though we have to make a bit more of an aggressive lunge to the inside there, and did a bit of a Sebastian Vettel from real life at Austria when he was fighting Hamilton with a wheel on the grass. But to my surprise, Leclerc has so much better traction actually, so my car may be an overtaking machine in a straight line with the DRS open, but in the traction zone, Leclerc and the Sauber have some really good work here, and so maybe this is why the Saubers might have just improved their chassis quite a bit and made it quite lightweight, because yeah, I can't get past them and I'm hit with dirty air on the next left-hander. So actually, I don't actually end up overtaking Leclerc, because on to lap 12 then, he comes in, Vettel's in for his pit stop as well, so I'm up into P2, and so we'll never find out if I could overtake him easily there. We'll have to find out later on into the race, but we're going to continue on now for at least 1 or 2 more laps and see if we can stretch this stint, because the longer we stretch this, the better we'll have, because I want to go to another set of ultra soft tyres eventually, but I have burnt up most of my ultra soft sets. The only fresh set I have of ultras is this very one I'm on. So we're going on to super softs now, but the second set of ultras I'll go on at the end of the Grand Prix have already been used in qualifying, so they'll have a bit of percentage wear already. So the longer I can stretch these first 2 stints, the better for me at the end, because then there won't be as much of a tyre drop off at the end of the Grand Prix. Even with lower fuel, there still will be a significant drop off. So if you can see what I mean, that's why we're trying to stretch these out a little bit more. So I might have lost a bit of time actually to Leclerc just a tad as we come out. We will come out behind the young Monegascan then in 4th place. At least we didn't lose any time to Alonso then. And so now the job is just to get the power down on these super soft tyres and go as fast as we can and try and catch up to Leclerc, and then maybe more so Vettel and Hülkenberg later in this Grand Prix. But we move on 2 laps later in the same exact straight then, and now we've caught up Leclerc. A very nice move around the outside. This might be, we're actually going to get the traction this time, so it might have just been my tyre wear at the end of the last stint actually, because we've actually out-traction him this time. DRS open, overtake going, and also rich mix, and we've flown past him up into P3. Easy peasy, and now we try and push on and catch catch up to Sebastian Vettel. You can see in the mini-map there, quite a sizable gap to Vettel, a bigger one than Vettel himself has to Hulkenberg. So we'll have to try and see if we can close that gap. But Leclerc keeps me honest for a little bit, but not for too long, because eventually then Gasly will come up and fight Leclerc. So Gasly P5 and Leclerc P4, the two scrap away. Where have I seen this before, huh? Leclerc and Gasly and myself all in one camera shot. Very familiar scenes, very familiar. But Gasly now on the left-hand side, DRS open in the Toro Rosso car, swoops around the outside. Leclerc, though, with some great defensive driving. These two have been so good this season now, and Leclerc's come alive, so both of them could be really stars of the show in the midfield here, and the bottom part of the top 10 as these guys scrap away for not even the bottom part of points. They're in the top 4, top 5 fight there, but you can see I'm just pushing on, trying to catch up to this man, Vettel, but at the moment, Hulkenberg really is controlling this Grand Prix in his world of his own. But as we move on through this Grand Prix, it's an engine failure for a pretty insignificant car in this race. It's the one the Force India's Ocon there. We haven't seen the Force India's pretty much since the beginning of Season 4, really, honestly. But Ocon retires then from the Grand Prix, parks up in a little bit of a dangerous spot, and so into turn 1, yellow flags up ahead, you can see in that same spot where Ocon parked up there, and so to my surprise, the safety car got called out. So we've had a lot of safety cars this season so far, so the FI feeling that was too dangerous for where Ocon parked up there, so full safety car called out. So lap 24, a little bit earlier than I wanted to pit for ultra soft tyres. So in the end, after all that talk about stretching stints for the ultras, I'm going to have to bail out that plan. I'm going to have to pit onto super softs and get this free pit stop here, because there's no point not pitting right now on lap 24, but I can't take the worn ultras that long from 24 to 36 laps. So we're going to have to pit onto a fresh set of super soft tyres that we do have in our little allocation here. So we come in then from P2 actually, because Vettel had already pit before the safety car. So I was kind of hoping that this free pit stop might be good enough to jump Vettel, but that was probably way too wishful thinking, because they were way ahead of me. So we're going to come down the pit lane. Vettel and also Carlos Sainz will come down, although I do know that Sainz is yet to pit for a second time. So it'll be a 1-2 for Renault now, a 3-4 Ferrari. So very familiar signs from the end of Season 4. The Renault Works team v the Ferrari guys here. The only difference is it's Vettel and so Raikkonen alongside me in this red stable here, but Sainz will pit eventually, so it will just be me and Vettel versus Hulkenberg. So we'll have to see how this gets going on the restart here. Obviously warming up the tyres. They look pretty damn warm to me on the right hand side, so hopefully this can be a good exit as we go green anytime soon. There we go, we bolt and we've gone, and so Hulkenberg's gone a little bit early there through the last corner. Not an amazing entry, but not an appalling one, so we kind of keep Vettel honest, but it could have been a little bit of a better exit. And through turns 1, we don't get the best entry, and so Van Dorn is going to pressurize us there. For a second there, I thought it was Alonso, but no, it's actually Van Dorn, surprisingly. Jumped out of nowhere here. I suspect Van Dorn, like Carlos Sainz, maybe is yet to make a pit stop here, as Van Dorn now dives me around the outside, lock up on the right tire. We have to do some big defensive work there to keep in 4th place. Eventually we do, and eventually Sainz will also come in. So there we go. It's Vettel P2. I'm up into P3 as we cross the line, but Hulkenberg is going very fast indeed. So now it's about can we try and get Vettel, and then can we do anything to maybe get Hulkenberg. But the first obstacle will be Vettel, and you can see, to my surprise, Vettel waltzing away from me actually in the traction zone there, and keeping me pretty at bay in a straight line there. Obviously no DRS have been activated yet, but I wonder if Vettel's maybe running a little bit lower downforce than I am on this setup here, because we're in hot lap mode and we're unable to catch him there. Even also in rich mix, so we saved enough fuel in the safety car period actually. But away from that fight, once again Pierre Gasly getting his arms dirty here in the race. Down the inside he goes of Fernando Alonso. These two scrapping away for P4 behind me actually now, as Leclerc sits back a little bit. So initially having the pace there, but now dropping off a tad, and it's not surprising really, because the Sauber, like I said, didn't have the performance actually on the chart to be right up there, and so more likely was going to be Gasly fighting Alonso here for these kind of positions. So Gasly at the moment ahead of Fernando then. We're still in P3 chasing after Vettel, keeping him honest here, but at the moment that's all I can do is keep him honest, but I can't actually overtake him yet, because he's doing a really good job at defending, and just, I don't know if he's deploying way more ERS on all the straights than I am maybe, and I'm deploying it kind of overall everywhere on the circuit. And meanwhile, whilst we do that, Hulkenberg, pretty much a sign of what was at the end of Season 4, a very dominant display from the Renault Works car there, and Vettel's backing me up so much so that on lap 33 now, you can see there, did some defensive work into that hairpin against Fernando Alonso. So Alonso trying to get in the fight for P2 here maybe, me. And so Vettel is not only keeping me at bay, but he's actually kind of slowing us up into Alonso in a way, because you can see the gap now on the minimap is so big to Hulkenberg. So really frustrating times actually, that Vettel obviously fighting hard, fair play for second place, but he's doing it in such a way that's slowing both of us down. And so as we move on to the second last lap of the Grand Prix now, closing up to Vettel there with DRS, having a little bit of a look on the outside there. He goes a little bit slow on the entry, so it's pretty much now or never to get second place, or we risk maybe losing a place to Fernando Alonso, because he's right up our gearbox with DRS there. So here we go now, getting very familiar with the rear end of Vettel and just about pull out to the inside there. Lock up on the front right. We're going to try and plant the power as early as we can. We're low fuel though, but we're going to keep it rich mix because I want to try and get this place. But Vettel just about pulls ahead even without DRS there, and does some great defensive work to block me off going to the inside. We remain on the outside, but we get the power down, switch back on him effectively from the left to the right. But Vettel holds the line here, and then through the next left-hander, I tried to go around the outside, but he chops me off there, and now unsettles my car. Alonso now has a bit of a sniff around my outside, and so Vettel really getting the elbows out here. So, there's fair fighting. I think that's the limit of fair fighting between teammates there. Nearly chopping off my front wing, and now make some contact with Alonso as I'm trying to desperately defend against him as we go into the last corner now of the last lap of the Grand Prix. It's not myself versus Vettel, it's myself versus Alonso, and Pierre Gasly in the background might just join us because we go side by side into turn one. We're going to hold each other up quite a fair bit on the exit there. We're still toe to toe, but Alonso gets the traction down. We've got DRS though, so we can try and get him back into the hairpin, but Gasly is also going to try and make the move on the left hand side, and so into the hairpin, the end of sector one. Look at this, what a sight that is. Toro Rosso v McLaren v Ferrari there, three cars scrapping out completely there for the podium position, and so we're right behind Alonso, tucked in into that gearbox there. Pull out for the move down the inside. It's going to have to be a very aggressive move. We lock up quite massively on the front right there and shove Alonso off a little bit on the racing line, but it's the last lap, last ditch efforts here. But Gasly does the same, and he makes some contact with us on the left hand side. He tries to dive bomb me, so it really is desperate times to try and get this last podium place, but we are just about going to hold on there for P3. Vettel will have P2. It'll be Nico Hulkenberg though that wins the Austrian Grand Prix. His second win of the season. It's been a long time since his first win at the first round of the Australian Grand Prix, so GG's to him, but we just about keep P3 in what was a very intense last lap.
Brilliant job, mate. That's a fantastic podium. Super driving, really strong pace. Very happy.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Renault. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. Do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
And now it's time to wind down and celebrate after that fantastic Grand Prix. Here they come, your top three, out onto the podium.
So overall, a really fun Grand Prix. A little bit disappointing not to get second place. I really did feel like Vettel really hampered our entire Grand Prix right at the end there, and we could have got second. First place probably wasn't in the question because Hulkenberg had so much pace, but really fun race nonetheless with Gasly and Alonso there in the end. And also Leclerc did a great job, honourable mention for him in P6 there. So really great scraps throughout the entire Grand Prix. But it will mean the Drivers' Championship, we obviously maintain the lead and actually extend the lead to Alonso there. Hulkenberg with that win will start to creep back up, as well as Vettel with the second place there as well. But at the moment, the actual two main rivals in second and third to us, Alonso and Ricciardo, they keep dropping points against us. So effectively still our gap grows in the championship. And constructors wise, our gap grows to McLaren now, who move up into second, Renault up into third. So in one race, Red Bull moved from second to fourth place in the Constructors' Championship. So I think it really is even worse than Season 4 in a way for Red Bull, because Season 4, they didn't drop off that badly. They were still maintaining a second place challenge, but this season, they've started off so strong, and they've fallen even flatter in the middleweight stage of this season compared to last season. So, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner have some thinking to do there at the Red Bull helm, at the Red Bull ring, obviously. Their home Grand Prix, pretty embarrassing to lose second place there at their home Grand Prix, effectively. But we're going to now move into the final questions before we end out the episode then. Pretty good P3 still, so I can be positive.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you?
So obviously I talked a lot about in that race about our straight line speed with the DRS as well. So I'm going to complement the power side of things on our car.
You must be thrilled to be up on the podium.
Going to be very cocky here and be showmanship-like and say this left-hand side answer thrilled, but I was expecting it, to be honest. I thought we could come back that much.
You had a close battle today, didn't you?
Yes, a close battle with Sebastian Vettel, but I still maintain respect. He may have chopped me off quite aggressively in that race, but it wasn't really that bad, actually. You know, it's fair enough. You know, we're all fighting very hard there.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And so that will round out the episode. And so looking into the reputation, I think we definitely did get a bit of a knock for the qualifying. So we gained from the race, but overall we're still only about 2/10, not even that, maybe filling up the reputation chart here. So, yeah, I mean, the toxic relationship still continues on, even though we're leading the championship now. So that's just how Ferrari are. They're very demanding, clearly. But looking now at the R&D chart, we're actually going to go for a chassis upgrade now. We haven't done a chassis upgrade in a while, but I didn't fancy doing another DRS update. I wanted to do a brakes update here because I feel like maybe that's an area we need to improve. I feel like sometimes I'm having to be a bit too cautious on the brakes maybe because I'm fearing a lockup. So by improving the brake calipers, we can actually afford to maybe slam on the brakes harder and kind of avoid a lockup maybe, or just have a higher pressure basically, and that will help out for races like the Belgian Grand Prix in Italy where we need a lot of stopping power, of course. We've obviously already got the one major DRS upgrade already in the works, but I didn't want to do another one. I didn't fancy doing an air update for the front or rear downforce, if you know what I mean, so that's why we went in the chassis there. So guys, if you did enjoy that thoroughly entertaining race in the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you're around to get subscribed for weekly full-on content, I've been Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.